possibly recording. We'll do that in a second. And it is Car Con Carne, the world's only food podcast, recorded in a car. That car is my Mazda 3, and I'm sitting at the corner of Logan and Milwaukee, sitting alongside Denis Buckley, frontman, leader of 88 Fingers Louie. And before I got here, I was listening on my phone to Google Play Music. I listen to all my streaming music there. And I was listening to the new 88 album, Thank You for Being a Friend, and I didn't worry about it. I didn't worry about going over on my data because I have Boost Mobile's unlimited plan. Unlimited talk, text, data. I pay next to nothing. Well, technically $50 a month. It is a fantastic service. I use it on my brand new Samsung Galaxy S8 phone, which I got from Boost. And I want to thank Boost Mobile for sponsoring this show. Denis Buckley from 88 Fingers Louie, are you ready?
I am ready, willing, and able.
It's Car Con Carne. Let's eat in the car. It's Car Con Carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
Okay, so we're here, and as we're doing this podcast, I'm going to go live on Facebook Live. Now, all these Facebook Live videos, I do this every week with my guests. They're archived. I guess you could go to my Facebook page, but they're archived on YouTube. No one even knows that YouTube page exists, but you can see all these videos. Whatever you missed, the in-car performances, the hilarity, this moment we're about to share with Denis will be on Facebook Live. All right, so Denis, we're going to go live here.
All right.
You feel good? Do you need to brush your hair or anything? Trim the goatee?
Hang on, let me get my razor out. No, I'm good. I'm good.
All right, here we go. See, I should have angled this up. Because you look thinner if you angle up the phone, right?
Oh, yeah. Ew, look at that turkey neck.
Look at that. That's Denis from 88 Fingers Louie.
Hi.
And, we are outside of El Cid. El Cid II, technically.
Yes.
El Cid, if you know Spanish, it is Spanish for the Cid.
The Cid.
But people love this place in Logan Square. Love it. And people love you, Denis. We walked into El Cid together. They knew you. You were no stranger to El Cid.
And it's probably been 6 months since I set foot in there. So
how often do you used to go in there?
Well, when I lived in Logan Square, I was there probably once every 10 days or so. Once I moved a little further west, became less frequent, but still semi-regular.
It was like Hail the Conquering Hero. Denis is back.
I was like the Norm from Cheers, except
yes.
They had no beer to give me.
I haven't been to El Cid. I think the El Cid I remember was El Cid Uno.
Yes.
Back in the day. Now, this was back in a very reckless time of my life, let's say early 1990s, like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. That's the El Cid I remember.
Oh, sure.
Nothing good happened
No.
back in those hours. This is a much more sophisticated El Cid.
It is.
From what I remember back in the early 90s. And the people who work there are so nice.
They were. They were very nice.
They're super friendly. Would you like chips and salsa while you wait? Yes.
Sure, I would.
The answer to that is always yes.
And then as we're leaving, they said, do you want us to top off your soda?
Top off the soda.
Yeah.
We are a county facing horrific soda taxes, and they just topped us off.
Kiss my ass, Rom!
Kiss my ass, Rom. You too, Preckwinkle.
Prickwinkle. That's right, I said it.
That's right. You can all fuck yourselves. This podcast is...
Clearly we can swear in the podcast now.
Not intended for all audiences. So, we should eat our food. Let's talk real quick, then we'll show off our food.
Okay.
Because there's nothing... As bad as it is to eat while on microphone, it is worse doing it on that.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll save that for the podcast. And the podcast will be available in like 2 or 3 weeks. It's a special time release.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So don't say anything that'll date the podcast.
You know...
Like, hey, today's solar eclipse, don't say that.
JFK, what a great president we have right now.
So let's talk about Thank You for Being a Friend. 88 Fingers Louie is back. Now, what's interesting, when I've played new stuff on my radio show, Demo 312, 101 WKQX, when I've played stuff, I realize I am very familiar with 88 Fingers Louie, but because it's been 19 freaking years,
Yep.
for a lot of the people listening, you may as well be a new band.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. It's been interesting. Certainly have our fair section of people that have followed us over the years, but then there's been people, let's face it, because of the good graces of the fine boys in Rise Against, they did a little bit of homework and they realized, oh, that's what Joe did before before things got really good. This is when Joe was just settling.
Right. Let the record show, Joe has had pizza in this car as well.
Of course he has.
Of course he has.
Joe Pizza? Yeah, of course he has. Yeah.
Did that out in the burbs. So, last time you were in this car, I think you were dangerously close to pulling the trigger on this album.
Yes. We had discussed and possibly even demoed a new song or two, but we were very nervous. Do we really go for this, or do we just keep playing the hits, as it were?
Do the nostalgia thing, basically be the psychedelic first.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But punk rock.
Right. The punk rock psychedelic first. That would be a great.
See, the thing is, you invested so much time, creativity, and energy into this band. It seemed inevitable that it would come to this.
Yeah, I think this time around, especially because we did that little mini reunion.
Well, you all had to kind of become adults in in the middle years.
Yes, exactly. And in the 2009, what was supposed to be the 10-year anniversary show that kind of turned into a few other shows. Near the end of that, we toyed around with the idea of writing some songs, and all four of us weren't in the same headspace, for lack of a better word. So the songwriting there was just like, ooh, yeah, let's put this aside.
So you guys go back in the studio to work on this album. Did you realize right away this is clicking? We're actually going to do this, or did you think, yeah, maybe this was a bad idea?
Oh no, this was everything. From the moment we started having what we had, like songwriter workshops, for lack of a better word, instead of getting together at our rehearsal spot and going over old songs, we spent, I can't remember what it was, maybe 2 or 3 practices, just sitting down, kumbaya.
As punk rock bands do.
Right. And I can't remember what the new term is. You can't call it Indian style anymore. Is it crisscross
applesauce?
That's what it is. Okay. John, our drummer, is a school teacher, and he reminded me.
That is crisscross applesauce.
You have to call it crisscross applesauce now. So we all sat down crisscross applesauce style, and we listened to some demos that were, some of them were a little older, some of them were somewhat more recent, and we kind of cherry-picked the first couple songs based on that. And as soon as we started fleshing those out, I don't think any of us looked around and was like, ooh, I don't know.
You just knew it was there.
We just knew. And then when we came up with like just brand new, fresh ideas, it was even more exciting because, you know, John, who's such an accomplished drummer now, you know, he's a music teacher, so he's, you know, time signatures, music theory, everything is coming into play. And the ideas he brought in were
so that's why the new album sounds like Dream Theater.
Yes. We finally reached our apex of prog rockiness. So when he came in, he had some great ideas. I actually was able to speak somewhat intelligently when it came to arrangements this time around, which is something that I could not comprehend 18 years ago. So it very quickly turned into the most collaborative record that we've ever done.
And I want to talk about the album, and we're going to save that stuff for the podcast, which, again, carconcarne.com. It'll be available in a couple weeks. Mr. Precision,
yes, in
your band, when he messes things up, do you really give him an extra hard time? Like, hey, dude, that wasn't precise.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We'll say, do we need to take your handle away?
Right. Mr. Fairly accurate at times.
Yeah. Mr. You could do better. Yeah.
Mr. Nice try.
Right. Better luck next time.
Mr. Attaboy.
Yeah.
It's like Little League. For years, when I had a kid, you could swear that every kid on every Little League team's name was Buddy.
Sure.
Oh, good try, Buddy.
Yep.
Nice swing, Buddy. Good eye, Buddy. Oh, way to run it out, Buddy.
You really fucked up, Buddy.
That's right. You also just got back from a European tour, which we'll talk about on the podcast. But while we were still on Facebook Live outside El Cid II, let's show off what we got.
All right.
You, the regular at El Cid. Now, you went very gringo with your tacos.
I did. I went gringo last time, too. Yeah, I'm not...
you do the sour cream.
I'm not too conservative. I I don't like the rice. The rice is not to my satisfaction.
See, I like the orangish hue of the rice. So we got the taco dinners. Like you went right for the taco dinner.
Yes.
Like you didn't even look at the menu. You
Nope.
knew.
Nope.
And you got 3 steak tacos.
Yes. With nothing but cheese and sour cream because I'm a wimp.
So I got the taco dinner with 2 pastor tacos and 1 steak taco. I went for the rice. This is $10.
Yep. Give or take.
Yeah, give or take. Not a bad deal.
Yeah.
Tacos, I think, are $2.50 a piece, so you're paying for the beans and rice. And I kept it pretty traditional with a little lettuce on top.
Well, you know, you're a lot more fancier than I am.
All right, so before we sign off Facebook Live and just return to podcast form, hey, Sledge is watching. That's cool. Hey, Sledge.
Hey, Sledge.
Stavros from the Atlas Moth is also watching.
Stavros.
Oh, come on.
Oh, Bill's watching, too. Hi, Bill. Hi.
See, that's the neat thing.
Yeah.
Stavros just recorded with me a week or so ago.
How many bleeps did you have to take out? He's a vulgar
Again,
man.
it's a podcast. Lots of wrestling talk, lots of comic book talk.
Did he talk Greek because he's such a
Yes,
Greek god?
he called me malaka.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't even know what that means. I've been hearing that since grade school. Don't know what it means.
It's not a nice word.
No, I got that. So this will be on carconcarne.com. While you are here on camera, while people are watching you, the new album is available everywhere.
Everywhere.
You can stream it. Again, we're going to talk about it in the podcast. As far as live music goes, since you're watching this on video, you'll be at Metro this weekend.
Metro this weekend?
Is it Saturday?
It is Saturday. Jeez, time flies. Saturday, August 26th at the...
This is the record release show.
release
This
show.
is it. This is the thing.
This is the party for Thank You for Being a Friend. We're playing a all-ages show at the Metro with our good friends, the Lillingtons, Abel Baker Fox, and Evil Engine. It's going to be one hell of a party. Show starts at 7. You should all go.
Awesome. All right, that's Dennis from 88 Fingers Louie. He's going to eat tacos in my damn car.
I'm going to spit all over.
Yeah, you are. All right, thanks for watching Facebook Live. Support this band, support this man. Put tacos on his plate.
Thank you.
Okay. You're so fun. There we go.
Look at us.
Boom. I think that'll go. Okay, so I guess here we are back in the podcast.
Yeah, we are. We're here.
That was fun. I do like. I know that was your first Facebook Live experience. I do like how you can see who's watching.
Yeah.
And I think when you acknowledge that they're watching, it's kind of a fun.
Oh, sure.
Give and take. Like, oh, hey, I know that guy. Did you know the guy whose name you said?
Yeah, Bill. Bill does Jaded in Chicago, who
Okay.
been very nice to us for a long time.
All right, grab a fork. We're about to dig into El Cid. Again,
sir.
Spanish for El Cid, or the Cid.
The Cid.
I'm going red. They had like pico de gallo when they put out the tortillas for
They
us.
did.
Damn, that was good.
It was very good.
Really sweet. Like you.
Oh, thanks. It's had a little kick to it, just like you.
So let's talk a little bit, and I know it's hard to talk and eat tacos at the same time, but
We can do it.
you just came back from the European tour, and I was kind of having fun vicariously watching and following you on social media, where you ended up, what you were doing. Now, this is a situation, it's been so long since you've been a touring band in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
You're out there in Europe for a couple weeks. What did that feel like?
It felt amazing. It felt like, in some ways, it felt like we had just that maybe a week had passed since the last time we were in Europe. But for the most part, and that quickly evaporated because you realize the biggest thing is technology. Mm-hmm. You were scrambling to find a phone card because none of us were prepared at either airport, either O'Hare or Heathrow, to get a phone card. You were hoping that you could find one cheap enough at a local, convenience store.
Wouldn't have even occurred to me.
Yeah, and I think, guy, when I was in Europe last in '99, my son was 4, and of course, no concept of the time change. You very quickly forget that you're in the UK, that you're 6 hours ahead.
Right.
Most everywhere else, you're 7. So trying to do the math 20 years ago to figure out when a good time is to get that phone card, and then hope that your ex-wife's going to let you talk to your son.
Oh God.
that was fun. The exact opposite happened now. You have phone plan that allows you, X amount of time for long distance, and you tell your son, if you want to still have a roof over your head, you make sure you answer that damn phone when I say I'm going to call, or at least text when I text you back.
So I guess the question about the European tour I could extend to the world. What's the reception been like? Getting back on stage, playing these new songs. Has it been... it's a leading question because I believe the answer is awesome and rewarding, but I'll let you say it.
Awesome and rewarding. No.
Knew it. Called it.
It's been... I was nervous. I can only speak for myself. And this is really the same feeling that we had when we started just playing outside of Chicago again for the first time in forever. Are people going to remember us? And if they do remember us, are they still going to come out and support us like they did 20 years ago? We were very fortunate that, in Europe, most of the places that we played 20 years ago and now, people came out in droves. I would love to say every show was a sellout. I would love to say every show was packed, from the door to the stage. But, there was a couple of...
And they don't have to be.
No, they don't. A perfect example is when we played Austria. We played, I think, to the bands that supported the band, I should say, that they'd open up for us, and maybe a few of the people that worked there. And you know what? It was fine. They kind of knew there was a week's worth of shows surrounding this UK festival Rebellion, and you had this influx of a ton of American punk bands, and shows in Europe aren't, we kind of take for granted how somewhat economical shows are here in the States.
Oh, is it much worse there?
Yeah, you're looking at, if I could quantify it, I would say you're spending probably 30, sometimes 30 to 40, the equivalent of 30 to 40 US dollars to see bands over there. Unless they're doing it completely DIY, and then,
That's a lot to ask.
It's a lot to ask, yeah. So that being said, people had decisions to make, and we totally got that. But we didn't let it stop us. We are very kind of pride ourselves in the fact that we'll play. If we play to 30 people, we're going to pretend like we're playing to 300 people. It doesn't.
Which that's the bottom line. Every band should be doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's an indie band listening Chicago or elsewhere, that's the bottom line.
Absolutely.
Play to win every show, no matter who's there.
Because if you are up there, and believe me, this wasn't always the case for us. I'd have a sour look on my face if I didn't see minimum of 50 people or whatever. But nothing is going to sour somebody on your band if you look miserable up there.
Because you have to assume every time you're playing, it's someone's first time seeing and or hearing it.
Yep, absolutely. That was the case with I would say probably almost every show that we played. At least we had at least somebody come up to us and say, you know what, I knew the band name. These are people that were probably going to shows as long as we have.
Right.
But for whatever reason, we kind of flew under or over their radar.
Yeah, life gets in the way.
Years. Exactly. So to hear from somebody that says, you know what, I've been a Bad Religion fan all my life. I've been a Face-to-Face fan for years. I just never listened to you guys until recently with like this new album. It was an introduction to a lot of people, like we were talking about, and I love that we're being introduced to old music fans as well as as brand new ones too.
Yeah, that's the coolest.
Yeah.
So all right, let's talk a little bit about the new album.
All right.
You talked about maybe back in the day playing with a frown on your face. You may have developed a reputation as being kind of a crank.
Yeah.
But I mean, you've put it out there. You're in a different headspace now.
Yeah, I am.
But it's interesting. There are a couple songs on the album that deal with looking back. Relationship songs. Turn to Gray is a relationship song.
Yeah.
Our Tired Vices, one of my favorite songs on the album, is also a relationship song. And then, I mean, I guess the most blatant, looking back, Advice Column. So tell me, was there a purging of thoughts and ideas?
Oh, yeah.
In writing these lyrics?
Absolutely. With Advice Column, it was more advanced. If I remember correctly, and I should because it's only been 6 or 7 months. It sucks getting old.
How about it? Amen.
Advice Column was one of the first set of lyrics I wrote, and it was kind of written from a bit of a nervous perspective, like, hey, we're a band that did our thing over a decade and a half ago.
It's like a mea culpa.
Like, hey, it was almost like, are we doing the right thing? And then as I started continuing writing the song, it was like, no, I need to get my confidence back. We need to show that we don't have to necessarily rest on our laurels. We can move ahead, keep an eye, in the rearview mirror, but for the most part, just keep going ahead and adapt. We knew writing this record that I personally, when we wrote this record, I didn't want this just sound like a carbon copy of the old '88 stuff. I knew that we had to.
It couldn't.
Right. I mean, if we really put that much effort into writing Back on the Streets Part 2, then we'd be doing ourselves and everybody that listened to us a disservice. So it was important for us to.
And your moment of return would have come and gone.
Yeah,
quickly.
Exactly. So, Advice Column was us saying to ourselves and to others out there, maybe to our peers and anybody that's thinking about getting back into music after a significant period of time. It's like, yeah, don't forget your past, but don't be glued to it either.
We see this time and again in music, local music, but certainly on a larger level. Sometimes bands need to go away to be appreciated.
Yeah, I think I can agree with you there. There are bands, and I can't think of any off the top of my head, and if I could, I wouldn't say it because that's disrespectful. But there are bands out there that, they do kind of outlast.
They kind of build momentum after they break up, part ways, go on hiatus. So when they do kind of line it all back up again, people are ready.
Yeah. Look at Jawbreaker.
How about it?
I mean, nobody, for years they were like, okay, these guys are taking pictures together. Oh, they're in a rehearsal spot together. They're doing a documentary at some point. Of course they're going to get back together. Nobody said shit.
That was one of the 90s great misses.
Yeah.
All right, see, now you've had a couple tacos. You feeling good?
I'm feeling very good, thank you.
These tacos are really... Every time I record a podcast and we're eating tacos, I always finish wanting more tacos. Because I got 3. I got beans and rice, but I want more.
The problem is, for me at least, if I'm finishing my 3 and I think, I want one more, I'll tell myself, oh no, I could probably have another 3. And I'll get halfway through that 4th taco and realize, oh, I've made a terrible mistake.
So, I'm not proud of this. My whole body is aching right now. I took a motorcycle riding course, the riding academy at Harley-Davidson. I was on a bike. I mean, this is an intense course. It's 2 nights of classroom and then 2 full days on a bike. But, for someone who's never been on a motorcycle before, my hands were in positions that, like my left hand, covering that clutch all weekend. And then my right arm was just angled in a way it normally isn't. I woke up at 2 o'clock this morning with shooting, radiating pain in both arms. Just because, especially like my left hand was kind of tingly off and on through the weekend. Yeah. Because I don't do anything to develop my hand strength on my non-dominant hand.
Yeah.
And then I'm just uncomfortable. So I took some Aleve before coming here. But it's just a weird feeling. It's a weird sensation to have your arms feel kind of sore. And I have a new puppy at home, and I can't lift her up right now.
Aww.
Sorry, Daddy can't pick you up right now because Daddy's having trouble lifting up this soda. I'm so out of shape. I guess the moral here, Dennis.
Hey, I'm right there with you. But speaking of motorcycles, I don't know shit about them. I rode a moped once when I was like 12. But our guitar player Dan is a avid motorcyclist.
Is he able to stop precisely?
I've not seen him.
Can you take a sharp turn?
He can take a sharp turn. He is very precise about his turns. But he's been. I gotta say, at least a good decade he's been doing it. But I don't know. I gotta believe he went through some sort of training.
Yeah, I gotta say, just to get your permit and license from Illinois makes it really hard to get a license.
Yeah. Well, But, Jim, just a car driver alone.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, it was super fun.
Good.
I'd never been on a bike in my life.
Now, do you own one now? Did you buy
I
one?
don't. I'm heading in that direction.
Okay. Wife's okay with that?
Define okay. When you say okay, do you mean a check, a sign off? Yeah, I got that. All right. So, getting back to your band, the new album is out. I have to say, I know reviews are things that bands try to distance themselves from. The reception's been tremendous.
Yeah. Thankfully, it has, because I would have been very depressed if it went south.
No, I mean, you created an album for yourself, guys in the band. You're happy with the results. People are responding to it. What a great year!
It's been an amazing year. Everybody says this, but I do really feel like we're a blessed band. We're for being away for this long and coming back and having people be just as excited as they were 20 years ago. It does make it feel like we've done the right thing by getting back together.
And as a music fan, as a fan of entertainment, I think we all love to see someone get a second act.
Mm-hmm. I know I do. Yeah.
It's really thrilling. It's like, okay, yeah, they've returned.
Yeah, there's still some gas in the can.
Right, exactly. Everything feels right.
Yeah.
The album is awesome.
Thank you.
I was thrilled when I first heard it, and it's been so much fun to watch you go on this new ride.
You were one of the first people outside of the band and loved ones to hear the album.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. And, I loved it from the get-go, so thank you, Dennis. And then, do you have any shows after the Metro show?
Yeah, we got, that'll be the last local show possibly for the year, unless we figure out something at the tail end of 2017. But then we have September off. October, we go up to Canada and play a few dates in Eastern Canada, although some people say it's Central Canada. I think those people are dumb. It's Eastern Canada because it's east of Chicago.
Yeah.
That's how I divide my directions. Excuse me. That's at the start of October, and then at the end of October, we go down and we play the Fest in Gainesville with a crazy amount of awesome bands. And this is
it's like the cradle of pop punk, isn't it?
Yeah. And this is a festa that I've heard. I think this is their 16th, 17th year. They've been doing this for a number of years, and we've tried to make it work in years past, and couldn't line up scheduling.
That'll be a great one for you.
We will. We're playing with Pegboy.
Oh, God.
Pegboy's first trip to Florida in probably 20 years, maybe even longer. We're playing with the Lillingtons, who we're also playing in Chicago with. Bunch of bands I'm sure I'm forgetting now, but just the idea. I talk to a few of the Pegboy guys semi-regularly, and the idea that Chicago is invading Florida is pretty awesome.
And you just reminded me, I really should have Larry and John in the car.
You really should. And thank God that you allow swearing now, James, because those Southsiders.
I used to have them on the radio a lot back in the day, and they were always very restrained.
Really?
John was always very low-key.
John still is low-key. Larry, I love you, Larry. Larry's a loudmouth.
Maybe it is a Southside thing.
Yeah. I'm from Riverside.
And I say that as I'm wearing a White Sox t-shirt.
Well, I've been reacclimated to the South Side now. I'm back with my love of my life. Not to get super sappy, but we dated 15 years ago. We got back together. And
Good for you.
She's in Brookfield, where I spent a little bit of the 2000s in, and it's interesting being growing up on the North Side.
Yeah.
That switch to the South Side. Every once in a while, you kind of there's no like pings of guilt or anything like that, but it's just like, oh, this is how the South Side acts. Okay, I get it. I
gotta say, a lot less bullshit.
True. They don't. Southsiders don't fuck around.
Yeah, they don't suffer fools.
No, they don't.
All right, Dennis, you're amazing. Now, before I let you go, I do have to read the social media message of the week brought to you by Boost Mobile. I had an awesome local industrial band called Worm in the car, and we did a podcast with them. Let's see. Laura commented, waiting for that acoustic album. Reedy. So they played an acoustic song. This is an industrial band. They went acoustic. Mike, the lead singer, had a guitar. Karen, the bass guitarist, played a bass ukulele in the car. So, yeah, that'd be an interesting progression for the industrial band to go all acoustic. And, we talked about motorcycles tonight. Kevin wrote, when does Cycle Con Carne start, JVO?
Ooh.
Logistically too difficult. I mean, Dennis, you're looking at the car. I've got microphones played. You can't do what I'm doing here.
James. Sidecar. you get a motorcycle
There's
with a
some
sidecar.
expense tied to that. I'm trying to reduce expenses.
Well, I'm saying when the car-based podcast blows up, is that one other guy?
You
still
don't
doing
say
this?
blows up in the same sentence as car.
Sorry. When you hit pay dirt,
Yes.
the money will start flooding in. You can have someone ride bitch, because I believe they still call it riding bitch.
They do call it riding bitch.
Okay. I would
It's
happily
the
ride
last
bitch.
politically incorrect thing that's allowed to be said.
James, let me be your bitch.
Yes. Yes. Dreams do come true.
Have somebody ride bitch in the motorcycle. You clearly would not be able to, just like driving and eating. You couldn't.
Right.
You couldn't.
Maybe I could do
Right
like
either.
a Bluetooth helmet mic.
Yeah, and have that.
But here's the problem. I don't mean to poke holes in the idea, and I certainly appreciate that Kevin suggested it. But one of the beautiful things about recording in a car is the relative soundproofing.
Sure.
Way too much ambient stuff going on if you're doing it on a bike. And I wouldn't be able to do in-car performances.
True.
Yeah.
And imagine if you're doing this in a bike on the south side of Chicago.
Yeah, no. Yeah, we're going to park the bike in front of Lem's Barbecue.
Yeah. Hey, Jagoff, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's not going to work. But thank you for the suggestion. And if you have thoughts on this podcast, episode, anything, direct them to the Facebook, Car Con Carne. The website's carconcarne.com. We're also on Twitter and Instagram. And before I leave, it goes without saying, support 88 Fingers Louie. They've been doing this long enough. They got it all figured out. The new album kicks ass. Dennis, you're a mensch.
That's a compliment.
Oh, it's a good thing. It's
Yes.
better. It's better than Malaka.
I was just going to say, I don't give a shit what that Greek bastard says. You're not a malaka.
Thank
You're
you.
the exact opposite of a malaka.